Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Life is a journey. Never let it rest. Turn your good into better and better into best. Good afternoon, everyone. BBB Sangat, Basveshwar Commerce College, Bagalkot, IIC Initiative, Institute Innovation Council organizes Session-II on Entrepreneurship Ecosystem. Me, Sheetal Bhashi, welcomes everyone for Session-II. I now request Professor Ramakrishna Taipi sir to welcome everyone for the session. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Ministry of Education has established the Innovation Cell to systematically foster the culture of innovation amongst all the higher educational institutions. MIC has encouraging creation of Institutions Innovation Council across the selected higher educational institutions. A network of these high IICs will be established to promote innovations in the institutions, leading to an innovation promotion of ecosystem in the campuses. Fostering entrepreneurship has become a core component of economic development in the cities and countries around the world. The prominent metaphor for fostering entrepreneurship as an economic development strategy is the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Keeping in this mind, BBB Sanghas Basveshwar Commerce College Institution Innovation Council, under the guidance of Ministry of Education, has organized the impact lecture on entrepreneurship ecosystem. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome everybody to this meaningful impact lecture. We are blessed to have an eminent personality among us today, who is the resource person of this session. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. S.S. Engineeri sir, Principal of Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot. Warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay.
I welcome deep-heartedly the president of today's session, Dr. Jagannath sir, Principal of Basveshwar Commerce College, Bagalkot. A gracious welcome to you, sir. And I also welcome Professor Srimati Gija Naudgi ma'am, IIC coordinator of our college. Welcome you, ma'am. I welcome wholeheartedly all the dignitaries and academicians of various schools and colleges present in this session. I take this opportunity to welcome all the IIC members and all the department HODs and all staff members of our college. And I am extremely happy to welcome all my cheerful students of BCom, BBA, MCom to this wonderful session. Once again, I welcome one and all. Have a great session. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I now request Professor Kavita Marji Madam to introduce a dynamic personality, Dr. S.S. Injanaganari, Principal, Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot.
Thank you, madam. A very good afternoon to all. Choosing the right career is the most difficult task for a person who is multi-talented and versatile because it's hard to decide what field to go into when you are good at too many things. It's my pleasure that I have an opportunity to introduce the resource person, Dr. S.S. Engineering, Principal, BVVS Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot. Sir completed his BE from Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot and secured second rank to the Karnataka University, Dharwad in the year 1985. Sir completed his MTech from IIT Madras in the year 1993 and completed his PhD from the same institution, Madras, in 2007. Sir is having 35 years of teaching experience in our Basveshwar institution and worked as lecturer, senior grade lecturer and professor. Sir has contributed himself towards teaching related activities like designing the curriculum, using different teaching methods, laboratory experiments, evaluation methods, preparation of resource materials, and remedial teaching or student counseling. Sir attended many trainings, workshops, a possibility of for government-funded R&D projects, training needs analysis, and impact evaluation. Indo-US workshops in different parts of our country, that is Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mysore. Under Sir guidance, 3 candidates working for doctoral degree. Sir has undertaken project and completed in 2014 in BTU, Belgium. Sir presented number of papers at the national and international level and written so many articles and published in different peer-reviewed journals. Received an appreciation letter from NTIU, New Delhi for effective implementation of TEQIP 3 activities at BEC. Sir visited abroad in connection with academic or institutional programs. Sir established 2 different laboratories and is one is Department of Computer Center and other is Structural Engineering. Sir is life member of different academic societies or bodies. Sir acted as a resource person in many refresher and orientation programs. Sir is also participated in many extension activities. Sir has chairmanship or membership in university academic bodies as a BOG, BOS and AC. Sir has also conducted or organized a number of seminars or workshops in which he acted as a coordinator and organizing chair. Sir is also expert in administrative experience. He acted as a member, coordinator, president and dean. He is a member of Rotary Club too. Sir participated in many development schemes also. In short, he is a versatile and dynamic person. With this brief introduction, once again, a warm welcome to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Kavita ma'am.
It's indeed a blessing to have such a personality between us. I now request you, sir, to take over the session.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Sital.
Okay.
Yeah, very good afternoon to one and all. Am I audible?
Yes, audible.
Yeah, okay. A very good afternoon to one and all. My apologies and sorry for the change in the sessions that I was supposed to do it because there were last minute some engagements by virtue of which I was supposed to come to Bangalore. But nevertheless, I will keep my talk at the very minimal because there are also the other commitments and try and share the little information that I have because I am not an entrepreneur by birth or by choice. But nevertheless, before taking up the profession of teaching, I wanted to be an entrepreneur in the field of civil engineering because I basically completed civil engineering from Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot. But as I got a job and that opportunity of becoming an entrepreneur I missed out that opportunity. But nevertheless, the present day opportunities are entirely different. The way that the life is going on is totally different from the way that we were looking at when we graduated. Just give me a few minutes. I will also try to take you over my presentation and give you some small examples in order to update you with regards to this. I think the audience, they are basically from commerce, Mr. Ramkrishna.
Yes, sir. Commerce, all are commerce managements.
Management. Okay, right. Thank you. So can I present the presentation slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sure.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visual.
Okay. Okay. So indeed, the topic that has been entrusted to me was on entrepreneurship ecosystem. So the outline of my presentation will be who is an entrepreneur, the components of entrepreneurial ecosystem pillars, an approach to entrepreneurship in higher education, how to improve entrepreneurship higher education, then the startups in India related to its opportunities and growth drivers, then the principles, 5 principles of successful entrepreneurs. Before we start or I start the presentation, I would like to share 1 or 2 quotes of education. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in schools or colleges. So this is most of the time when our alumni come and express, and this is the viewpoint of our alumni. So in that particular context, so basically it is unlearning and learning things. What one has to understand in life is change is the end result of all true learning. So basically everything changes and we need to accommodate ourselves as the time passes and things change in nature. So defining an entrepreneur, first of all, we need to understand who is an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, basically, if you look at the definitions, is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risks and enjoying most of the rewards. So you have everything now combined here. An entrepreneur, basically, he may be a small entrepreneur or a big entrepreneur, but basically one who starts a new business, we normally call him as an entrepreneur. While taking up entrepreneur as a career, risks are obvious and rewards are also obvious. So you must be prepared for the worst. You must also enjoy the best. And the process of setting up a business. Hello? Am I audible? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. It is audible.
Okay. I thought there is some problem. Somebody interrupted. So I thought, okay, I'll just check it out. Thank you.
No, sir. It's clear. The best.
Okay.
Please.
The process of setting up a business, entire that process, what we do while setting up a business is called entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur is commonly seen as a business leader and innovator of new ideas and business processes. So I would rather say the one who is going to become an entrepreneur is always has got a creative ideas and he's an innovator. Such of the students or the individuals who are not creative sometimes only tend to take up the jobs, or they want a secured career as their choice. So from that particular perspective, whenever we talk to our students, we always say that those of you who are creative, please don't mistake me. Never go for a government job, because sky is the limit for the people who are creative and who are willing to work. The Other aspect what we need to understand here is what is entrepreneurial ecosystem. So this entrepreneurial ecosystem consists of two words. One is entrepreneurial and another one is an ecosystem. So entrepreneurial normally in a generic sense refers to MSMEs. MSMEs here means micro, small and medium enterprises. So most of the people will always fall under these particular categories until unless they grow, mostly in their starting and or scaling phase. Entrepreneurship, I would rather say, is a driver of innovation, as already I told you, and productivity, and as an engine for sustainable economic growth. So whatsoever we see, if your Indian government says that economically we are progressing, it's normally by the virtue of not the government servants, it is by the entrepreneurs who are capable of either providing, working in a manufacturing sector or in a service sector. By virtue of that, the economy of a nation progresses. If you look at the natural science definition, the ecosystems are defined as a system or a group of interconnected elements formed by the interaction of a community of organisms with their environment. So we'll also quickly see what does that mean in terms of the business context, because owing to less time, I would not spend the other issues here. So in entrepreneurial ecosystems, by and large, these can be laws and policies, or they are the cultural norms that exist. So here, in order to understand this, before we move on to the elements of an entrepreneurial ecosystem, what I want you to understand is that the entrepreneurial ecosystem in a broader way or in a very crude way, because we all of us being in an educational system, I would rather give an example of starting a school or a college, and for that particular thing, who are the people who will get involved and how a ecosystem is going to be formed. Tomorrow, a thought process may come into one's mind that one wants to start a school or a college. School may be a residential or it may be a day scholar. College may be anything, arts, science, commerce, or an engineering. So from that particular perspective, the passion for an individual is to provide good education to the people in that particular locality. So by virtue of that, the first and foremost thing is that he needs to have an idea as to what is the requirement of that particular locality. Whether he wants to produce engineers, or whether he wants to produce doctors, or he wants to give basic education who are going to be into the professional courses. Either it may be law, or it may be commerce, or it may be anything that one wants to do that. The first and foremost thing is that he needs to own a land, and there has to be a service provider for that. There should be somebody to give a land, or he should have a land of his own. Either he has to take it on lease, or he has to have his own land. So there is going to be one particular person who is going to show him the lands and the appropriate location. As it is, the information will not be available. For that, you will have a middleman, that's a broker, real estate man, who is going to show you a number of pieces of lands, by virtue of which one needs to make a choice as to what's the best location for this particular organization that one wishes to start. For example, in engineering college, he cannot start an engineering college besides Basaveshwar Engineering College, because already you have one established college, and there is going to be always a fear that whether the college that one is going to start is going to be successful or not. So appropriately at a certain distance, looking at the catchment area and the needs, that where you have the market, he needs to find out the land. For example, B.V. Sangha thought that the another catchment area to start a college will be Mudod, because they wanted to have the input or the capture the audience or the stakeholders from Mudod, Chamkandi and the surrounding places, Rabkavi, Banhati, where they felt there is a lot of potential. So after that is being done, then the next thing is the preparation for the plan of the organization, whether it is a college or whether it is a school or anything. For that, you require civil as well as an civil engineer as well as an architect. Then they need to prepare the drawings for it. appropriately when the drawings are ready, then it has to be certified by a qualified engineer or an appropriate authority like in Bagalkot Development Town Development Authority BTDA. After that is being done, then you have to have a formal recognition or an approval from the government of Karnataka, as well as an appropriate body if it is an engineering college from All India Council for Technical Education. So with all the details, the complete application need to be submitted. Then the committees come and inspect and they provide the permission for it. Once that permission is being sought from the government and the competent authorities, then the construction of the college has to start. For that, again, you require different people. You require a contractor, you require an engineer to do that, and the entire system has to be put into place. You require an electrical engineer, you require a mechanical engineer, you require a service provider for the internet. So all the people from various angles, including the drinking water, where they bore, and the health issues, so safety measures, all that need to be taken care, and you need to rely upon the so many people or the services of many people here. Once the buildings are ready, again it is going to be inspected and the permission is going to be granted. Then the process starts. We need to get into the matrix, the name of the college, for the students to opt for the admission to the college. For that, sufficient propaganda need to be done, because it is going to be done for the first time. It is going to be opened, and in such a place the college is going to be established. So for that you need to do the advertisement, and before that you also need to have minimum number of people on place. The principal, the staff member, the faculty, the supporting staff, and all that need to come into place. So here what I need to tell you is that if you want to start a business, like starting an organization or a school or a college, there are so many entities or there are so many people who are involved into this. So the entire set of people, whether it is the government, whether it is the contractor, whether it is the real estate person, whether it is any sort of person, all that will constitute an ecosystem. So that's what I want you to understand. So whether it is with regards to any type of system or any type of business, you need to have this entrepreneurial ecosystem, and you will have to study well or understand this particular entrepreneurial ecosystem, because the quality of the education that is going to be delivered and the students they are going to be absorbed after they complete their degrees, who are the people who will absorb them. So all this need to be properly studied, and the competition that exists in and around the neighboring engineering colleges, and you will have to also foresee the threats that what's going to happen to the number of engineers who are being produced, because today you will see some of the engineering graduates or the streams, they do not have the jobs. For example, since last year, mechanical and civil engineer, there has been a downfall, and there is a big boost for the IT sector industries. So one must be able to foresee what's going to happen to the market. And amongst all this, when you want to start a business, the most important thing is the vitamin M, that is the finance or the money component. For that, again, the banks or your own investments will have to flow in. So all these things together, you can say that it constitutes an entrepreneurial ecosystem. I hope I have made the things clear in a very broader perspective. So the elements of an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it comprises of three elements: the surrounding environment, more precisely the business environment and the investment climate. The other thing is the interacting actors, what I talked about. There are so many actors in this particular process of starting a business. Then the culture, what it is going to be set up in the neighborhood as well as within the setup itself. For example, starting an engineering college or a medical college in Bagalkot, the entire the living style has changed, and it has given rise to the starting of many of the other small businesses in the vicinity of this college or the colleges. Say for example, even including the ladies hostel in front of that, what are the things that are required for the girl students, the appropriate businesses are being set up. So the entire evolving culture in and around and within the ecosystem, that's going to constitute that. The fundamental idea of an entrepreneurship ecosystem is to create a conducive environment to support innovation. So the most important thing is all of us are now leading a very comfortable life by virtue of the entire entrepreneurial ecosystem that has been set up, and when it is conducive and conductive environment is being created, because anything that has been started may also create a nuisance. So in that particular perspective, whenever an entrepreneurship takes, or whenever an individual takes up entrepreneurship as his career, he has to be very cautious. See, for example, from the perspective of his own business, he is going to be successful, he is going to earn the money, but taking into consideration the environment, the culture, the entire culture in the society is going to be wrecked. The simplest examples that you can think today will be, people invented mobile, and the companies who have invested in this have made profit, but the end users, they are appropriately not knowing as to how to use this particular technology, and the entire social life is being disrupted now. If you look at the chewing of the pan gutka, the person who started this, he has been a successful entrepreneur, he has made money, but on the context, the health of the individuals as well as the cleanliness in the society has been disrupted. So from that particular perspective, when one wants to become an entrepreneur, he must have a positive thought process and also understand what are its repercussions on the society, whether it is going to have a positive impact or whether it's going to have a negative impact. Entrepreneurship always, it generates the competitiveness and economically develops the environment. This is very important. When one goes for a government job, he does the thing what is being entrusted to him for that particular trade or the skill. But as an entrepreneur, you are going to create a lot of competitive atmosphere in the society. If one starts in the manufacturing of a mobile, the other company also starts, then the third company starts, then there's going to Nokia. Once upon a time was one of the most successful brands, but today you will see Nokia has, its market has fallen down. Samsung and rest of the other services, the manufacturers have relatively grown up. So competitiveness, it creates in the society and it develops the economy of the society. It provides the jobs to the job seekers. And the other important thing is, it is also going to promote the innovation and creativity amongst the individuals. That's a very important thing, by updating the existing markets and creating the new market also. The entrepreneurial ecosystem, basically, if you look at, it constitutes some pillars, that is, I would rather say, accessible markets, human capital workforce, funding and finance, mentors, advisors as a support systems, regulatory framework and infrastructure, then education and training, then the role of universities as catalysts by providing appropriate inputs, then the cultural support. If you look at the entrepreneurial activities, it can be broadly put into 5 types: the new product innovation or introduction of a new service. So it can be a manufacturing or it can be a service oriented entrepreneur. Then the new process innovation it can be, or it can be new methods of production. Then either it can be market innovation or the opening of the new markets itself. Input or resources innovation, then organizational innovation, which is the complete restructuring of an entire industry or the breaking up of a monopoly. So whenever somebody starts a business, there is going to be entire monopoly in that. Then in that particular case, for example, initially, if you look at the education system itself, there were only around 12 or 13 engineering colleges, and it was a monopoly. Today, you will see 240 engineering colleges alone itself in Karnataka. So in that particular case, the market gets divided into several parts. That is, the stakeholders in the respective region opt for the nearest college where they want, or depending upon their passion. Then the components that we looked at, the accessible markets. Whenever somebody wants either a production line or a service line, he must be sure of the domestic market or the foreign market, the type of market. Either it can be large companies, small or medium companies, or as the government itself as the customer for it. So even in the service section or the service provider section, there are many agencies who provide services to the government. For example, supply of the furniture, supply of the stationaries and things like that. So your market can be either domestic or it can be a foreign market, and largely it can be large or small or medium companies, or it can be government either within India or outside India. Human capital and workforce is a very important component where people always tend to miss out this, because always the infrastructure facilities can be created, but what matters most for the success is the human workforce or the human capital. This is to be understood by each one of us. The talent of the management. See, for example, we are running the engineering college or a group of institution, around 150 or 160 institution. How well the management has got the talent, how well they are qualified, how well they are smart enough in understanding the market and running all these institutions is very important. The other aspect is the technical talent, that is the skill that one or each individual possesses. A group of people coordinating and then trying to build this particular thing. Then entrepreneurial company experience, what is its background? For example, if you look at the BU Sangha, it is established in 1906 with only one Sanskrit Pathshala. Today, after 110 years of plus or 116 years, we have 160 institutions. So if you look at, and now if BU Sangha intends to start another medical college in Bangalore, then it's easy for them to start. So the experience matters the most, but nevertheless, those who are beginners, they don't have to be let down, because it's a jugglery that need to be broken, whether it's the hen first or whether it is the egg first. So from that particular case, until unless you start, you don't get an experience. And later on, we say that until unless you have an experience, you can't start it. Then outsourcing availability, we should have the means to outsource some of the activities. Say, for example, the training, some of the industrial training that is required for the students of engineering college. So we must be able to outsource, and there must be service providers for that. Then the access to immigrant workforce. So we must be able to get the appropriate man force or the human resource that is required to run this particular show. Funding and finance, as already I talked about, this is most important, whether it comes from the family, whether it comes from the friends, or whether it comes from the private wealthy investors, like what we call as angel investors. Then the private equity or the venture capital or access to debt. So there are many ways of getting this particular funding or finance, but then nevertheless, that's one most important thing. For a successful businessman or an entrepreneur, I would rather appreciate a person who invests minimum money or the money from other sources and makes the gain out of it. I would rather call him as the most successful entrepreneur. It is not about deceiving, but it is appropriately accounting for everything and appropriately investing and making a profit out of it. Then support system, we need to have good advisors or mentors, because we may all not be having the sufficient experience, but always you can have people who are in that particular field to get the necessary inputs to start a business. Then professional services that we are going to get. For example, while starting this college itself, how well the colleges are going to be constructed, how well the equipment are going to be brought in, how well the internet facility is going to be incorporated. All that particular, you must have professional services as a support system. Then incubators or accelerators, that is organization that helps to start companies and individual entrepreneurs completely. Normally we call them as incubators. Then network of entrepreneurial peers. So you must have those who are enthusiastic, a good networking, so that you will be able to support each other and grow together. Today's market is totally different. Each one of us wants to grow individually, and that's where the problem of quality has been compromised. Then regulatory framework and infrastructure, ease of starting a business. Now government also has now eased out the laws wherein it facilitates the beginners to start their own entrepreneurial activities. Then they also give tax incentives. Then the business friendly legislation and policies are required, appropriate people who frame these particular policies. Then access to basic infrastructure like water and electricity when you venture into any particular business is of utmost importance. Then the other thing is with regards to the communication. So access to telecommunications and broadband, then access to transport. Say for example, BV Sangha, Bagalkot did not have access to the rest of the world 10 years back as it is now today. We did not have appropriate broad gauge and sufficient number of trains running. We did not have the appropriate national highways. We did not have the airports nearby. Now only we have the airports at Hubli and Belgaum. So transport is also of utmost importance because people look at what minimum time they will be able to reach and then how much time they will be able to save. In today's world, people can invest money, but people cannot invest those who are competent enough time for others. That's a challenge now. Then appropriate education and training, available workforce with pre-university education. So you will be initially taught in while undergoing your graduation as to at least as a within the institution and also from the outside your alumni or the industry person to give you enough knowledge and experience to start and become an entrepreneur. Then available workforce with university education, that's most important. Then entrepreneur specific training, appropriately what business he wants to start based on the specific business that he wants to start, the inputs need to be provided and appropriate training or the education is required in that particular field. Then major universities, normally in the foreign, these universities, they act as the catalyst, and this particular concept is creeping in now in the Indian education system. And optly, the government of India or the Ministry of Education now has thought of starting new education policy or starting the reforming the education policy, thus promoting the entrepreneurship. So major universities, they promote culture, promoting a culture of respect for entrepreneurship. Then they play a key role in idea formation for new companies. Then major universities also play a key role in providing graduates for starting new companies. So universities or the educational institutions, they play a very dominant role, and of late it has started in the Indian context because the faculty, those who are going to be employed, they are not having enough background with regards to the industries or the concept of being an entrepreneur. So from that particular perspective, now in between the semester, the students are asked to go for internship. It's mandatory for the students to undergo internship. That means they need to go out of the institution and work in the form of a project or get hands-on training in the industries so that they will be able to understand the various aspects of the industries in which they want to venture into. So that's a very important concept. Otherwise, the degrees are not awarded. Then the cultural support, tolerance of risk and failure within the family, within the society, and in the environment, it is very important because the risks are always there with the fluctuation in the market, and there are other also obligations when one starts a business. Preference for self-employment, the society should be able to support, the family should be able to support. Then success stories, role models, as a culture, it should be imbibed within an individual, then positive image of entrepreneurship, then the celebration of innovation. Whenever something is being started, it must be appreciated. Then for him, it will be convenient to promote himself and be successful. I would not get into these. These are some of the schematic diagrams where it gives the aspect what I talked about an education system with regards to the Netflix, with regards to Amazon, and with regards to robotic process automation, what an entrepreneurial ecosystem looks like, and who are the people and who are the artists involved in this. They are all very self-explanatory. You can also have a look into it later on when you get time. This is for Wipro Innovation. So an approach to entrepreneurship in higher education, because as we are all into that particular field, I thought it will be more appropriate for you to understand this particular phenomenon. Actually, the relationship of entrepreneurship and economic development is highly a complex process. And it implies a very strong and diverse connections and linkages across several institutional players. Entrepreneurship education has recently received attention from scientific community and is far from maturity. I would rather say now only under NEP, we are now trying to understand how the education needs to be aptly imparted to our newer generation so that we catch up with the rest of the world. In spite of rich human resource and natural resources, India has been considered as a developing nation and not as a developed nation. And that's one of the reasons is that we have failed to have good entrepreneurs within ourselves. So higher education system is expected to develop entrepreneurial capabilities as well as the creation of entrepreneurial mindset in the students. That's a very important aspect, and we have failed in that particular duty in the past several decades after our independence. And now it's high time for us to realize this and then appropriately educate our children so that they will contribute to the economic growth of the nation. So I talked about how can an entrepreneur be either positive or he can bring in disruptive technologies and with his innovative ideas and uplift find employment in less than a year after they complete a degree. This is statistically proven. It means that some of the business schools, top business schools, I would rather say, have been taking up this particular process and doing justice to the job of building good entrepreneurs. Then linkages to business context, then compulsory internship as I talked about for completion of the degree, then to promote open classes, guest lectures by entrepreneurs and business people, then visits to companies and organizations, then case study methodology can be some of the aspects which have to be incorporated within the curriculum so that we'll be able to build within our students a strong entrepreneurial attitude. If you look at some of the IIMs in bigger places, the teaching learning system is highly dynamic, it's pragmatic and oriented towards real business and organizational situations. So that means they have been put into rigorous assignments given the real life problems. The availability of the teachers and qualified and trained teachers is a must, and they should have that particular experience also. The facilities that are going to be set up for the students to learn, modern facilities are available in business schools. Then innovative practices are inculcated amongst the students in their curriculum itself. The competencies, what need to be developed is creativity, teamwork, leadership and autonomy, communication skills and self-confidence, theoretical knowledge, and what are the activities proposed in an educational institution are self-descriptive, and some of the things also will be known to you. Then extracurricular entrepreneurship programs to develop set skills like assembling products, consciousness building, critical thinking, estimating, filling out forms, interpreting data, then math computation, negotiating, presenting reports, problem solving, it can be anything, public speaking, research, selling, teamwork, it can be anything. So to improve an entrepreneurial culture and develop students' entrepreneurial skills with positive impacts in local development. The other aspect will be the support infrastructure, what is very much essential for one to become a successful entrepreneur. And I think you can also have a glance at that. So these are some of the main objectives of the institutions, which I will not go into the details of that. Then startups in India, opportunities and growth drivers, quickly we'll have a look at it. One of the major advantages in India is its population itself, with 1.3 billion or 130 crores of population. It's a huge asset. And by 2030, it is expected that the working age population would surpass the non-working population. So this unique demographic advantage will offer a great opportunity for any startup, which need to be capitalized by the next generation. Then the connectivity, for example, the Indian telecom industry has nearly around 100 crore subscribers. So mobile connectivity has made inroads in the rural as well as the urban population. Now world has become very small. Then the government of India's digital push, this is going to improve the connectivity as well as the storage, the cloud, what has been now the new concept, what has creeped in. It has taken the entire living style to the next generation. Then we now know, once we were paying the money for the incoming calls also. If I receive a call from outside, for every minute I am supposed to pay $3 or $5. Now today, by just paying $200 for 1 month, you have the entire communication free across the globe. So the cheap data, it helps everyone to get their hands on it, and startups will have an easier time to tap into markets. Sitting in their own place, they do the businesses. Now people don't have to move from one place to another place also. So in that particular case, this is a huge opportunity for the people in India. Change in the mindset of the working class, then innovation society. They are the two important things which the people have to capitalize, because once before our banking system, we were struggling to get the loan when we want to become or become an entrepreneur or start a new business. Today the banks come to your doorstep to provide the finance for starting up your business. So from that particular perspective, if you are innovative, then definitely you can be more successful. So some of the statistics with regards to the growth of the startups. India is a growing economy and has a large market of undeserved and unserved customers, wherein we can all capitalize on that. And being the world's sixth biggest economy, and India has the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. The Indian startup ecosystem is expected to witness 10 to 12% of the growth in the coming years. That is year to year. The growth of the ecosystem is tremendous, as despite the pandemic hit in 2020 and Indian startups managed to receive approximately $10 billion of investment in 2020 itself. And some of the areas where people can start their startups is healthcare is one big business after the pandemic, agriculture, human resource, and things on like that. The last one, some of the principles that are required for one to be successful entrepreneur. Broadly, it can be put into five strong principles for a successful entrepreneur. Start with your own means and take action, or to wait for the perfect opportunity. So it's always one have to be wise. You will have to have your own means and you will have to take action appropriately if you want to be successful. Set affordable loss. In the eventuality, you will have to take risk, and when you fail, you must be able to sustain that. Leverage contingencies and embrace surprises. So some things will come as unexpected. You must be able to always leverage these particular things. Form partnerships with people really committed. So that's a very important thing. But nowadays, it has become so bad that when one has a partnership firm, they have never prospered. So one have to be having a correct means of understanding and laws that are being set to share the profit and then see that the business is sustainable. Then create opportunities with what is under your control versus focus on predicting the future of finding optimal opportunity. So these are some general principles that one has to keep in mind if you have to be a successful entrepreneur. Lastly, I would conclude, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So if you want to be a successful investor, you must have adequate knowledge, use your common sense or wisdom, and then act appropriately at the right time. So I wish you all the best, and I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share a few of my thoughts on this particular occasion. Thank you one and all. Hello, Ramkrishna. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if there are any thing to be shared or clarified.
Students, if any queries, you can just raise the queries.
ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಏನಾರ queries ಇದಾವ? ಏನು? ಸರ್.
Sir, just few seconds.
Yeah, please.
Students, if you have any queries, please raise the questions. So, okay, I guess there's no queries. Sir, I would just like to continue further. So, I now request Dr. J.V. Chavan, sir, President of this program, to propose presidential remarks.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Sir, sorry
Hello.
for the interruption. Sir, sorry for the interruption, Chavan sir. Like students have few doubts, so just few seconds, sir. Yes, guys, you can please raise your doubts.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Please tell me.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm able to hear to you. You were there in that competition when this one was held there. MBA Fest was held. Were you a part of it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm able to recognize your face,
Sir,
so that's why I
my
asked.
question was
Yeah.
role.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
You are
Yes, sir.
not
My
audible
question
to
was.
me. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Role of higher education in providing technology.
Role of higher education in providing. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Please
Hello,
tell
sir.
me.
My question is role of higher education in providing technology.
Yeah. Very good question. The most important thing what I am now seeing after becoming the principal, because now as we are faculty members, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes,
audible,
sir.
Yeah. So appropriately you need to give in the input to the students and provide opportunity for a particular student. For example, the concept of Idea Lab has been introduced by Government of India, that is All India Council for Technical Education. By virtue of this, it has provided 55 lakhs of grant and 55 lakhs has been invested by the management, total 1.1 crore. The whole concept here is that the students are being introduced as to what is innovation right from the day one when they enter into an higher learning institute. For example, this year when the students took admission to first year of engineering, we have made one of the labs, Idea Lab. That means a student has to go to the Idea Lab in the first year itself. During their curriculum, we have included this particular lab, and then complete 10 small experiments. Here, all the basic amenities are being provided in this particular lab. A student who develops any particular idea later on, when he sees this lab and does some small 10 experiments as a part of the curriculum, whenever he is outside and he looks at any particular incident or an activity, and then idea develops within his mind, he has to come back to this particular lab, then appropriately start working on it right from the day one, and then later on see that it is going to be converted into a prototype. So by virtue of this, the freedom and the accessibility that is being given and the technological know-how that need to be provided by the faculty within the institution or from outside the institution is very much essential. For this,
Okay.
the faculty need to be competent enough in order to generate an idea within the mind of a student, subsequently provide an opportunity for him to come and then work and then exhibit the skill and produce a prototype of it. So the most important thing is a theoretical knowledge, what was being imparted earlier, and where there was less of practical experience or an hands-on experience for the students, and lack of infrastructure facilities by owing to the economical problems were some of the constraints. So the most important thing is the first faculty also need to go to industries compulsorily in their career at the beginning of the career and work in few of the different types of industries, whether it is a production or whether it's a service industry, then come back, then set up small labs and provide an opportunity for the students to experience that. That alone will not be sufficient. Then you also need to educate the students as to what are the things that are required or the traits that are required for him to become a successful entrepreneur. Where is the finance available? Who are the advisors for a particular type of business he wishes to start? The complete hand-holding need to be done till he establishes. Say, for example, we have a BC step, Basveshwar Engineering College Science and Technological Entrepreneur Park. There, some of the incubators who have been given the incubation or the startups now have started full-scale manufacturing of biodiesel. So in that particular case, he will definitely feel confident to venture out and then start his own business. So from that particular perspective, the higher education institutions have got a greater role now. They will have to transform from the transferring of the knowledge just in the classroom and move out and then provide hands-on experiences to the students, and the enough knowledge or the content need to be given to the student for him to become a successful entrepreneur. That's what I normally now start understanding, because this was lacking. What normally happens in the foreign universities is that educational institution, the industries give a particular problem to an educational institution and then provide the funding for it. That's why when the students from India or any part of the country go to either economically developed countries, they are being provided the assistantship because they get the funding from the industries. So from that particular perspective, that concept now has been introduced by the government of India under new education policy. I think down the line in 10 to 15 years, the things are going to change, and the role of the higher education also is going to change when they want to bring in the economical growth of a nation. I think I have answered your question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you so much for such an informative session. Thank you very much, sir. I now request Dr. J.V. Chavan, sir, to put forward the presidential remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Entrepreneurial development today has become very significant in view of its being a key to economic development. The objective of industrial development, regional growth, and employment generation depend upon entrepreneurial development. Entrepreneurs are thus the seeds of industrial development and the fruit of industrial development are greater, such as employment opportunity to unemployed youth, increase in per capita income, standard of living, and increase the individual saving, revenue to the government, and many more. Despite a high failure rate, new business, startup, and serial entrepreneurs are of added value for an economy. Therefore, the added value would be even higher if these companies would involve into high growth firms. Therefore, entrepreneurs need enabling and empowering the environment, which not only they ensure that their changing ideas are translated into actionable pursuits, but also ensure that these entrepreneurs have the necessary ecosystem in which they can thrive and prosperous. To realize growth and innovation, the ecosystem must function well for entrepreneurs, such as entrepreneurial ecosystem is an interactive network of actors who influence each other, and the chances of the survival of the venture creator and his company in a region or a nation In addition, the competency of a business owner, networks, formal institutions, human capital, and culture, new knowledge and financing are also crucial for value creation from entrepreneurship. The challenge is to let all these elements complements each other in such a way that together they provide more values. I am very glad that the Institution Innovation Council has organized wonderful impacts lecture on entrepreneurship ecosystem with the Dr. S.S. Engineering Principal, Basveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot, as the resource person. If we have a very good ecosystem that support our entrepreneurs, then nobody can stop us from being called India, a developed country. I hope all the students are future entrepreneurs. They enjoyed with the session. Once again, I thank to the Dr. S.S. Engineering. He given such a wonderful talk, inspire our students. So thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. I'll take leave of you if you don't mind, because I'm running out of time. I am outside now in Bangalore. So please kindly.
Please, sir.
Yeah,
Please, sir. Please.
Yeah,
It's pleasure, sir. Thank you.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Namaste.
Vote of thanks. Showing gratitude is the way of respecting people. So I request Nandini madam to propose vote of thanks.
I'm Dean. It's a great honor and a privilege to propose vote of thanks on a technical session to entrepreneurship ecosystem. First and foremost, I thank our president of this session, Dr. Jagannath V. Chavan, Basveshwar Commerce College, for his support, vision, and a commitment. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to the resource person, Dr. S.S. Engineering, for his words, and despite his busy schedule, has found a time to grace this technical session. I thank you, sir. Next, I thank Institute Innovation Council President and Vice President, Professor Ramkrishna Tapi, and Professor Srimati Girja M. Nawadgi for support and the contribution. My heartfelt thanks to various heads and a coordinator and a convener of Institute Innovation Council, Professor Kavita J. Malji, Professor Vidya Aivastra, Professor Sheetal V. Barshi, Professor Srimati Teena Darbar, Professor S.M. Koth, Srimati S.Y. Meti, Sri Badige have worked hard to ensure that both sessions resounding success. Thank you all. I thank all distinguished invitees accepting our invitation and all students from BCom, BBA and MCom. Thank you invitees and my dear students. Last but not least, I thank who worked behind the screen. Thank you one and all.